From living in an orphanage to celebrated philanthropist, plumber to prominent entrepreneur, a young man without a college degree to president of the Idaho State Board of Education, and from a child with every reason to wonder if God had forgotten him to a man of faith, seeing God make his life count. This is the sometimes unlikely story of Milford Terrell's success. In the 1940s, Milford Terrell's life got off to a tumultuous start. Born into a troubled family with 7 children, his mother became the first woman in Idaho state history charged with child abandonment.
So all those kids were given to the state of Idaho. We became awarded to the state of Idaho. And we had to go through some pretty rough times. I probably would have died had it not been for my brother out scavenging food for us. So I always wanted to make sure that kids didn't have to go through those kind of things.
That was more than a desire. It became Milford's purpose for living. In the 1990s, Milford took me to the Children's Home, one of the many child-centered philanthropies he supports, and one that is deeply connected to his past.
My brother used to steal milk off the porches here on Warm Springs because they always had their milk delivered. And he'd come steal milk to make sure his kids were fed.
But in July 1945, his big brother didn't have to steal milk anymore. Authorities brought 2-year-old Milford and 4 of his brothers and sisters here to the Children's Home.
I kind of choke up a little bit being here. It's a weird type feeling, being in the Children's Home.
This is where the youngsters lived while their mother made headlines and became the first woman prosecuted under Idaho's new child neglect law. It was a rough start for a little guy, but Milford says his adoption a few months later led to a new life that he will always be thankful for. He credits his adoptive mom for teaching him integrity and a work ethic that has brought him success and many business and civic awards.
And you know, she taught me those things. If it hadn't been for her, I don't know where I'd be today. If I'd have had to live in a situation where my parents were both alcoholics, if I'd have stayed in that situation, where would I be today? I have to ask that question.
So today, Milford is a big supporter of adoption, urging people to take a look at all the little guys, like he was a few years back, who need a place to belong.
You have to have somebody that cares for you deeply. And that's what happened with my adoption. And these kids, even like in the foster situation, they need to be adopted. They need to have that love. They need to be embraced by a family, people that want to take kids.
Talk to Milford about his rise to success after such a tough childhood, and the topic immediately turns to Grace, his wife of 54 years. 2 met in Japan while serving in the military during the Vietnam War. Grace, a nurse, and Milford, a medical technician. They were married with one stipulation, according to Grace.
Before we got married, we were in Japan. I knew nothing about his life. He knew nothing about mine in the States. We only knew each other there in that context. And before we got married and moved back to Boise, he said, I want you to know one thing. Tuesday night is Pathfinders. And I said, that's okay. I had no idea what Pathfinders was.
Grace quickly learned that Pathfinders, a youth organization of their church, would be just one of many charities the two would support for decades to come.
I have been very blessed. I married up.
My marriage was very important because Grace had to have my dream too in order for it to work. If my dream was something that was way off, that she wasn't or couldn't be involved, then it wouldn't have worked as well.
We go for rides now. And We talk about some of those adventures, some of those things that we did, but we always come back to the best times we ever had was with, of course, our own kids, but with other people's kids and other organizations that lifted kids up.
Using their resources, Team Milford and Grace blessed countless organizations. Boise State University, another organization they supported wholeheartedly. And in 2015, Milford became a legendary Silver Medallion recipient, the university's highest award.
It was imperative for us to get a majority of votes on that Idaho State Board of Education to implement programming here at Boise State. So, for example, the incredible growth in graduate programming we've had here at Boise State really would not have happened without Milford Terrell at the helm as a member of that state board, helping board members who live far away from Boise State, who know Boise State for what it was yesterday, not what it is today and what it can be tomorrow. It was Milford who made that difference over and over again.
Milford says just as he had hoped, all the nonprofits, all the events, the institutions, the boards he was able to serve on, all of it made possible by the company he and Grace built together, DeBest Plumbing and Mechanical. When Milford became Idaho's Small Business Person of the Year in 1999, he told the Idaho Statesman that the key to his success is having a wife and key employees that shared his vision, and getting key employees to stay with the company. It wasn't always easy.
Of course, when we started the business, things were pretty good, and then there, 4 years into the business, the economy went south.
But as you might expect, the drive to succeed was stronger than any economic downturn. With a steadfast commitment to excellence and an above and beyond dedication to his employees, DeBest grew into the plumbing powerhouse it is today, recently celebrating a remarkable milestone, 50 years serving the Treasure Valley. And now his daughter, Darcy Nidai, continues the legacy her dad started.
I think Milford is an icon of integrity in everything that he does, from his family to his employees to contractors to customers, his daily walk in life. He's just got a real passion to do the right thing in life.
His business acumen, common sense, and passion for young people landed Milford an appointment to a demanding responsibility on the Idaho State Board of Education, where he became president and served for over a decade.
During that time, he was a tireless and zealous advocate for students, and he's incredibly generous with his time and resources.
And adds his daughter Stephanie, charisma and common sense were her father's secret sauce. She says no matter what the situation, Milford knew how to solve problems. For someone without a college education, Stephanie says her father's common sense trumped book smarts over and over. All of these impressive accomplishments and qualities resulted in a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Idaho Associated Contractors in 2020. Perhaps even more memorable than all the awards, Milford's bigger-than-life personality and ability to fire up a crowd.
Are you guys excited? I can't hear you. I said, are you excited?
And his ability to inspire.
Are you ready to make a difference? Go Broncos! Boise!
And sometimes, Grace even got in on the act.
We were at a home builder function, and things were going really well.
And I said,
Wow, I am really hot tonight. Now Grace stood up in all her glory and said, Milford, let's go home. That brought the house down.
Lots of laughter in the Milford home. Even at his busiest, Milford carved out special family times and experiences. And the baby was a big part of that.
The baby was an old Chris Craft boat that had deteriorated to nothing. And I took it in to get somebody professional to redo it for me. And he skipped town. And every one of my kids and grandkids pulled at least 1 to 25,000 screws out of it. We just had a ton of fun on an old boat. It was not a cushy ride. The reason we called it the baby was because people would put their bodies in jeopardy for the boat. And that's why we started calling it the baby. Because save the baby, don't worry about anything else.
Milford's grandson Josh says his grandpa has a way of turning everything into an adventure. Even a trip to the dump was fun.
One of my probably favorite verses in the Bible that I talk to people who talk to me about religion is, faith is a substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. And I believe that wholeheartedly.
Underlying everything that led to Milford's success was his deep faith in God. Milford believed his life had a higher purpose, guided by God, a purpose to turn his dark childhood into a bright future for others.
All the things that I did with Pathfinders, Boys and Girls Club, Boise State, Children's Home, were all things that were to help kids understand they are an individual of a very, very important.